Welcome back to ZZ Talk with Zeus
and Zino.
It's been a minute. We actually ended up taking a week off by accident, but probably because there's something important happened, Zino, during the last week that we've been off.
I don't know, man. There was this meme I saw about God telling an angel to set the agenda for the year 2020, and the angel accidentally put all of the 20s in it, so 2020 to 2029. Well, the election happened, and it felt like it was an election worthy of a full decade. It was a long one.
So with that being said, today's episode, again, this is Easy Talk with Zeus and Zino, two normal guys that talk about everything and anything, which is, involves pop culture, sports, and a heavy dose of politics, which today will probably be a heavy dose of politics. Yep. So a quick rundown of what we're going to talk about today. We are going to...
Well, before we do that, do we want to touch on Mr. Trebek?
Thank you. Actually, that's a very good point. So, unfortunately, Alex Trebek passed away at the age of 80. I believe it was it Monday?
No, it was Sunday. So it happened on Sunday because there's a meme account that I follow on Instagram, and he said Biden's only been president one day, and Alex Trebek is already dead. I laughed, right? And I love Jeopardy, and I love Alex Trebek. It was like really sad, but that gave me a nice chuckle. And then the guy commented, "Is like, yes, I know Biden isn't actually president yet. It's a meme."
All right, so because I was gonna ask, did you correct him on that? Because I feel like you wouldn't.
No.
But anyways, all right. So yes, unfortunately, Alex Trebek died at the age of 80. He succumbed to cancer. He was the Jeopardy host for, was it 30 something?
37 years.
37 years. Yeah. He left behind a wife. I believe he actually, one thing that I read about, and I always find this, like, I don't know why, honorable. So his first wife that he was married to, he never had kids with her, but he adopted the daughter. And a lot of times you never hear about, like, cases where, like, the person's like, oh, he adopted me, then he forgot about me once he got divorced. A lot of times they're usually still involved. So I'm assuming, I would like to assume that he was still involved. So he leaves behind that daughter, and I believe he has two daughters with his, or two kids with his current wife. So it's a tragic thing.
In a strange way. He
also was 80.
Yeah, in a strange way, it was, it was okay. I feel like he made it sting less, right? Because he was very public about his diagnosis very early on during the show. And there was one particularly touching moment in one of those early episodes after he came public with his diagnosis, where, in Final Jeopardy, you put down your wager and then you put your answer. And the guy knew that he had already lost that episode, so he put down a wager of $0. But then the answer was, "We love you, Alex," and it was like a very touching thing. And so I was just gonna say it has been coming for months. It still stings, but Alex was always a class act, and he made everyone prepare for his eventual passing.
And that, to me, tells me a lot about him. Honestly, when somebody prepares you, because one, I mean, we did a tribute to Chadwick Boseman when he passed away. And that stings a lot different, right? Because he was young, his career was barely starting, and you just felt it was just a tragic thing, right? Because he's just so young, and he didn't really get a chance to, like, live out the career that he could have had, right?
Yeah.
So
and we didn't know it was coming. We didn't know it was coming, so that's part of it.
We didn't know it was coming because he hid that, but he hid that for a different reason than Alex Trebek let us know about it, right? Mm-hmm. Because he was 80 when he passed away, right? He lived a great long life. He was, now him and his wife had an age gap of 29 years. So obviously she's still stinging. She's going to sting a lot more than, we would. But again, correction to what he left behind. He left behind a daughter from his first marriage whom he adopted, and he left back a son and a daughter that he had with his wife. So tragic event. Really is. But honestly, Alex Trebek was always a class act. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how often Zeno watched Jeopardy. I didn't really watch Jeopardy that much. I would, back in the day when I used to have lunch around 7, which is when the time that Jeopardy would come, back when I was working like night shifts or whatever, I would watch here and there, but I'm not that smart when it comes to until like I'll know the pop. Like now I would do good because they have a lot of pop culture questions.
Yeah.
But back then when they ask about like, how many times does a hummingbird flap its wings? I'm not going to answer that question, honestly.
There was legit a 2-year span where I didn't miss a single episode of Jeopardy. Yeah.
And you're not the only one. I guarantee you there's a lot of people who went like every day watching it for like a long time. And then probably some people who just kept watching it because that was just part of the routine. So anyways, our respects go out to Alex Trebek and his family.
One last thing on that. Sorry. His final episode will air on Christmas Day. He recorded it just a week before he passed. So
okay. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was working right till the end.
Hey man, that's amazing. That really is. So our respects go out to Alex Trebek. Real quickly. So for some reason people are already asking about his replacement. I forgot his name, the guy from the Reading Rainbow.
LeVar Burton.
Yes. He's been asked to they've been throwing him out there as a possible replacement. One, I don't think Alex Trebek's shoes can be, nobody can fill his shoes. But then again, I also never thought that anybody could replace Bob Barker on the Wheel of, on The Price is Right. And Drew Carey's doing a pretty good job, So I wonder, do you think that would be a good replacement, or do you think it'll be somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, for multiple generations of Jeopardy watchers, Alex Trebek has been the guy. Even parodied in SNL by Will Ferrell, with Sean Connery, who just passed away as well, being parodied by Daryl Hammond. So for a lot of people, it's gonna be like, oh, that's not my Jeopardy. But this is a chance for a new generation to get into the show. And I think whoever becomes the host has that, that weight to carry on them. But I think from everything I've seen of LeVar Burton, which has only been bits and pieces, and it was in Community. I saw him because Troy in Community was a big fan of LeVar Burton. I saw him in Arrested Development as well. But he always seems like he's really fun. It's like there's a bit of a
down to earth
there, Yeah. So I think he could be good for the role, for the hosting.
Yeah. Only thing I would say is if they do Jeopardy, just don't try to change it. Don't try to make it like hit for a new generation or whatever. Jeopardy is the way they have it is a perfect recipe. People will watch it because people watch it for the trivia and all that stuff. So just don't change it. But again, respects go out to the family of Alex Trebek. Great man.
Yes.
Agreed. So with that being said, now we can do the recap of today's, or not the recap, I'm sorry, the breakdown of today's episode. So as we stated, a decade-long election just recently happened in the last 2 weeks or so. So we're going to definitely want to talk about that, which is going to lead into our top 5, because this was a political thriller. So we're going to talk about our top 5 political thrillers or political-related TV shows and movies. And then me and Zino want to do a quick reflection on the election. We have some opinions, and we've kind of in pre-production we realized that we're probably going to have a little bit of differing opinions. But I think even though they're going to be different, Zino, I think we're both looking at it from a way to make the country better.
Yes.
Because obviously we're that important that we are going to make the country better.
Yeah.
Then
this is it here. This is where democracy is decided. On ZZ Talk.
For real. Okay. And then we also, recent news came out in regards to some of the judges said something about the Supreme Court that we want to quickly reflect on. Zino will tell us a little bit about that in regards to, they basically said something about, hey, the Affordable Health Care Act is pretty much here to stay, right? And we had a discussion when the Supreme Court Justice, what's her name? I'm sorry.
Amy Coney Barrett.
I purposely did not remember her name. When she got nominated, we talked about how the Supreme Court, and Zino gave a great opinion on how he doesn't think the Supreme Court should be political. And we're going to discuss about how he proved his point right. He proved his point on this because it seems like it's not going to become a political thing, right? The Supreme Court is just, it's it's its own being. It's a lifetime appointment. Once you're appointed, yeah, you're appointed by a president who wants somebody who does his views. But once you're in there, you are a lifetime judge. So that means you're not going to get touched, right? You, no matter who appoints you, he can't. You're not going to have political fallout for something that you decide because you're a lifetime judge. Like, you can't touch me, you know. So we're gonna talk about. We're definitely gonna touch on that, and then we're gonna go into sports right after that because obviously that's more important than an election and Supreme Court. It's about sports. We just heard some news about a guy who plays on this team. We're gonna talk about that, and then we're gonna have a recap. And last week we missed the, so we got to talk about 2 weeks ago about our predictions, and then we're just gonna real quickly talk about some games that maybe stood out to us for last week because we ended up missing out on talking about those in the podcast, and then we're going to talk about next week's predictions or this Sunday's predictions. We are recording today is November 12th, 2020, the year of our Lord. Sorry, Zino. All right, man. Real quickly, before we go into the top 5,
run it down.
Recap this election, man. Recap this incredible election that we had.
Yeah. So our last show, was it the Thursday before that we did the last show?
I think so. Yeah, I believe so.
Like
yes, sir.
Okay. So we had our last show, and we talked about the Republicans missing debates and all that stuff. And I think we pretty much came to the conclusion that McConnell was going to win, Graham was going to lose. I think we said Purdue was probably going to lose. And we were very optimistic about the Democrats' chances, right? What ended up happening was the election happened. All the same day voting was coming in, and everyone was peeing their pants because same day voting was favoring the Republicans because that's the group that didn't believe in COVID. So they're like, why do I need to mail in my ballots? So the Republicans were
not only that, but also their leader told them don't mail in ballots because that's fraud.
Yeah,
if you mail in your own ballot.
Right. So overwhelmingly, it was favoring Republicans. People were freaking out. I will say I was freaking out about Wisconsin until Charlie Sykes came on MSNBC and said, guys, none of these votes are coming from Milwaukee. Like, Milwaukee's going to come in and it's going to be overwhelmingly Biden. I was like, okay, I feel better. I wasn't freaking out about Michigan because I knew that none of those are coming from Detroit. Pennsylvania was a little more of a black box. Anyway, so election night happens and Trump wins Florida pretty early. They call Florida pretty early for him. And once that happened, we know that this is going to be a long election. Because if Biden had won Florida, that could have been the end of that. But he won Florida, long election. Texas comes in. Biden's looking close at one point, but then Harris County doesn't come in as well for Biden as we hoped, and Trump pulls that one out of the bag as well. So now we're really in the thick of it, right? But then election morning, Wednesday morning, if you will, numbers started coming in, and Biden took the lead. And Trump, so Biden came out to speak just to kind of say, look, it's going to be a long night or a long election. Everyone just needs to, to calm down, let them count the votes, yada yada. About an hour later, 3:30 Eastern time, Trump came out and said that they're finding votes somewhere, these illegal ballots. And we were getting ready to party, and all of a sudden they stopped counting. I think it was something about Arizona. Is it? Yeah. All of a sudden they stopped counting, and then in Michigan, Pennsylvania, they're finding these illegal votes. We were about to win, and quite frankly, we did win. I was like, oh, okay. So then he said we're gonna take it to the Supreme Court, and that's when I was like, all right, this is it. This is the banana republic we've been talking about all this time. It's finally happened. So anyway. Days went by, and
long days.
Eventually, on Saturday, the 7th, was it? Saturday, the 7th of November, the networks, CNN, Fox, NBC, and the Associated Press, all of them called Pennsylvania for Biden, which took him over the 270 mark, and Biden was the presumptive the presumptive president-elect of the United States. We say presumptive because the Electoral College still has to vote on it, but nothing's going to happen. So that's
We hope.
We hope. I mean, look, the Trump administration has been, very litigious, taking things to court in Nevada, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and right now they're 0 for 16. Right? All of the lawsuits keep getting shut down. So I don't think anything's gonna happen. Anyway, that's a quick.
I don't either, but it's just one of the things that people. This is what I realized: you can win elections on two things, and Trump and Obama showed the differences. You can win an election on hope or fear. I don't know if you've noticed; those are the two big things that you can win it on. It's either hope or fear. It's not neutrality. You can't win it on neutrality. Although maybe you can say Joe Biden kind of won it on neutrality, but the thing is, though, his was the opposite of fear. Like, you fear this man, so vote for me, right? So it's either fear or hope. So the only thing that Donald Trump can do is he rises enough fear in people to make them think that all of a sudden in 2020, we decided, and by we, I mean Democrats, because, even though I'm progressive, I'm still a Democrat, right? All of a sudden we decided, you know what?
You caucus with us.
Yeah, I caucus. Exactly. I'm like Bernie Sanders, it should have been him. But anyways, so we burn, so we, all of a sudden we're gonna rig the election, rig something that's been happening since the founding of this country, right? We're gonna rig it to beat Donald Trump, but we're still gonna let Mitch McConnell go in. We're gonna let Lindsey Graham win, right? We're gonna lose some Democratic seats to make it a little bit tricky for you not to know what the hell we're doing. And then, oh, by the way, thank you, President Trump, for even though you're asking questions about your votes, you're not asking questions about the Republicans who won. Yeah. You're not asking, you're not questioning those. So anyways, I agree with you. I don't think anything will happen. It'll be it'll be a hubbubaloo. What is it? Hubbubaloo about nothing.
Yeah, much ado about nothing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's just, I hope what ends up happening is this is basically the last cries of a person who will just basically be erased from people's conscience. Kind of like George W. Bush. You know how George Bush just kind of went to the background and like people don't really talk much about him until he paints himself naked with dogs or something like that.
I have thoughts about that, but I feel like that deserves a longer analysis, which we will leave for after our top 5.
We'll be talking about.
Yeah.
So
thoughts about what this means for Trump's legacy. But
exactly. But by the way, great recap, my friend.
Thank you. I tried to make it short, but still detailed enough. So.
You should host Jeopardy. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Okay.